I actually went to watch the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so here I am to talk about it. Honestly, I have to say that this movie was a quite enjoyable movie, and it was certainly a great adaptation of the video game. So that was great. Now I do have to say that this movie clearly had a strong hook, given how it introduced the villain of this movie, Bowser. I think the way he was introduced was quite intimidating to me, given how he attacked the Penguin Castle. I know this is a kids movie and I'm talking about it so in such a serious manner, but I still have to give credits where it's due. So there's that. I think he clearly looked like a menace, which really got me thinking of how Mario and Luigi were going to handle him. Speaking of them, I do also have to say that they are also introduced in a very nice manner. I think the way they quit their plumbing jobs to start their own company really got me thinking of how they were going to succeed, and I was really hoping for them to succeed, given how they were humiliated by their former boss. And I remember the next scene, where they go to fix the sink of one of the customers, and then they have to deal with the dog. I mean, of course, it did not like go the way it was expected, but it was still a fun scene to watch, and it was pretty enjoyable given how it should have been given. After all, it was directed towards kids, so there was that. Quickly touch upon the scene where Mario is eating pasta for dinner with his family, and then he sees mushrooms on the pasta, and then he's just like he cannot eat it. I think that way they kind of set up the scene where Mario couldn't eat mushrooms in that training montage scene with the princess. So I just kind of liked how they were kind of like foreshadowing it in that way. Now, moving on to Mario at Princess Peach's place, and even Luigi at Bowser's place. I liked how this movie really set up the story, given how Mario ended up in Peach's place, whereas Luigi ended up in Bowser's place. That way, Mario had a reason to go to Bowser's place in order to rescue his brother, whereas Peach was preparing to fight against Bowser, which kind of reminded me of the training montage scene, which was a really nice scene because it actually makes good use of the video games. And I also really liked how they made use of the song "I Need a Hero" whilst Mario kept like trying to succeed through that entire training montage. I think I could really feel that energy of that entire scene due to that song being played. So that was great. And overall, I think there's also a nice lesson to learn. I think it's important bringing it up, which was that to never quit, given how Mario never knew how to quit. So that was a nice life lesson to learn from there as well. I think one character I really love to see with Mario was Donkey Kong, especially because of the kind of interaction they would have, given how they couldn't get along with each other ever since Mario beat him in that fight wearing a cat suit. And that's also what really made it that funny, just to see the kind of interaction they would have. Honestly, that chemistry they had was the most hilarious, and for that reason, even the best chemistry I'd seen in this movie. And that one particular scene where they were in that creature's body, and then you know Donkey Kong was respecting Mario's father for not respecting Mario enough for what he wanted to do, which was really a funny scene to watch. And another scene was also that scene where all those captured characters were in prison, and then you have this pessimistic character who's all depressed and predicting that they are all going to die, which was very depressing way to see the future. But it was also that funny, just the way they portrayed that character, which just made it funny to watch, even though he was a very depressing character overall. And this way, I really found the humor of this movie to be a breath of fresh air, because it had been a while I had experienced the kind of humor this movie had to offer. So that way, it felt good for me. Now, coming back to the game references and songs used in this movie, I honestly have to say I liked all of them, but one scene that stood out to me the most was the Mario Kart scene, probably because it reminded me of my childhood when I used to play it. For that reason, I would say that scene stood out to me the most. I think one of the scenes was, or one of the aspects of that scene was, where they were throwing turtle bombs at each other, which also kind of reminded me of how I also used to play it back then. So for that reason, I liked it. Now, also, I have to also talk about songs such as "Take on Me" and "Thunderstruck," which are great songs used in great ways, as they made whichever scenes they were being used for more enjoyable. I do have to talk about the main villain Bowser a little bit. I honestly thought he would be a lot more intimidating, given the way he was in the beginning, but he turned out to be a bit funny, given how he wanted marry Princess Peach from the beginning. After all, it was a kids movie, so it made sense why they had to, like tone it down a bit. So there's that. I honestly thought, Donkey Kong was gonna put up a better fight against Bowser, but it was for Mario and Luigi to fight against him, so that made sense. Which brings me to the third act, which was where Mario and Luigi more or less got lucky by getting that superstar to be able to beat Bowser. I mean, it was what it was. After all, like they had to like figure out a way to like defeat the villain. So there was that. Mentioning this as well, but I really thought the gorilla army that they Peach and Mario try to like acquire from the the father of Donkey Kong. I really feel like they could have been used to fight against Bowser army instead of Mario and Luigi doing all the work, which could have been interesting. Because even though they were all captured by Bowser's army, I still thought that it would have been worth seeing them also fight against Bowser army. That way it would have seemed like a complete fight instead of Mario and Luigi doing all the work. Now, overall, I will say that this movie was a great movie and was also a very satisfying movie overall, given how everything turned out to be, whether it be the references to the games or the use of the songs, even the the theme songs from the Mario video games, and then even like the characters and how they were used, and uh, even the third act, because I also felt like as even though the third act was the way it was still a satisfying ending nonetheless. After all, Mario and Luigi were celebrated as heroes, and they were kind of like respected in their town, which was good for them. But overall, I think it was a great adaptation, and even a successful adaptation of the Mario video game. So there's that. So overall, I enjoyed this movie and had a good time watching it.